Welcome one, welcome all to episode TO of the NFC East Mixtape. That's right, baby. 81. This is the most unique podcast you can get across all of SB Nation. You can listen to it on any of the four NFC East blogs. That is Blogging the Boys for Dallas Cowboys coverage, Bleeding Green Nation for the currently first place Philadelphia Eagles, Hogs Haven for the Washington Commanders. They are riding caboose right now in the division. And of course, Big Blue View for the New York Giants. You can also watch this show on the Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel or the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. Subscribe to wherever you're accessing these things. Leave a rating, write a review. Those things make us happy. This has been quite the season for the NFC East Mixtape. He is Brandon Lee Gowton. I am RJ Ochoa. And BLG, I say that it was just 2 weeks ago that we did our first ever live show. And now I'm not one of these DFW people. I wasn't born in Dallas, Fort Worth, so I don't root for all the DFW teams. I'm a very loud and proud Houston Astros fan. My NBA team of choice, in case anybody's curious, is the San Antonio Spurs. So, I'm a citizen of the state in that sense. But this is the NFC East Mixtape with my Houston Astros against your Philadelphia Phillies, the least original name in all the professional sports in the World Series. Hey, look at the mixtape. What a good time to be alive.
I don't think you know what a Philly is.
I don't care, honestly.
It's something. You have to look it up. But you got the name of the podcast wrong, as people often do. It's not the NFC Mixtape.
I didn't say that. I just said it quickly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not enunciating properly. I know
it's
the name.
The World Series Mixtape here, RJ. There we go. A little misdirect for you. Very excited. The Phillies are going to beat your Astros, and if they don't, it's going to be because the Astros cheat again. Which, yeah, I'm going to bring that up a lot because
I love that is like the plan for everybody who plays the Astros, right? Like you look at like Yankees fans today, or the last few days at least, have been like, they're the people who are like, we won Houston. It's like in the we won Houston. There's nothing about like they cheated, they suck, whatever. It's all about like they're amazing. We want to vanquish them. But the moment they lose, it's like, well, they cheat anyway. Who cares? Blah blah. People are stupid. People are dumb. I don't know if there's a bigger big brother, little brother dynamic across all of sports between professional teams right now than the Astros and the Yankees. I'll just say that. But
okay. Well, the Yankees aren't there. The Astros are for the AL, and the Phillies are going to beat them in the World Series. A lot of parallels to the 2017 Eagles with this Phillies team. It's true in terms of this team on an unlikely run in some ways and some unlikely heroes along the way. And the
unlikely hero, the guy they gave $300 million to, that was super unpredictable.
Not Bryce Harper.
What a shock!
Not talking about him, talking about other people on the team.
That's Dallas Cowboys fan. Bryce Harper, by the way.
A lot of people. I mean, he's worn plenty of Eagles gear since being in Philly.
And
also, are you going to take solace in that when the Phillies beat the Astros in the World Series? That he's a Cowboys fan.
I will tweet that out. Don't get me wrong. But okay. I was going to tweet this out. I was going to tweet this out, but I was saving it for here because this is a unique World Series. Like, my team's in it, obviously, but because of the mixtape, and this is kind of our favorite part of it, I have all these like Philadelphia followers now because I'm every Eagles fan's favorite Cowboys fan. So that being said, I'm offering this as a token, as an olive branch of sorts. All right. The last time the Houston Astros won the World Series was 2017 when the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. So either the Philadelphia Phillies are going to win the World Series, or history is going to be lined up to repeat itself and the Philadelphia Eagles win the Super Bowl. So, hey, if you can't have one, you're seemingly going to have the other at least.
I do agree that it seems too unlikely that both teams would win this year. So if one wins, if the Phillies win this, that's kind of a stock down for the Eagles a little bit. But
this happens a lot. Like, people will be like, is insert whatever city the like best sports town go? Like, remember San Francisco had the run when the Giants won their 3 World Series, and that was when the Niners went to the Super Bowl that they lost, that they for whatever reason celebrated this past week. Our buddy Rob Statsguerre was down real bad last week and didn't even know it, which was the sad part. But I don't know of another city that's come close to that kind of success.
Recently.
Like
LA won a bunch of stuff, right?
Well, you had the Giants, and then the Warriors kind of came in after, so you could kind of go San Francisco a little bit there.
Although LA had a bunch of fake titles.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, people say the bubbles and stuff,
yeah,
right?
All that.
So,
yeah.
even the Rams title, to me, the Rams title feels more
fake.
Fake than the Bucks. I don't know why.
The Rams were just not like the best team in the NFL last year. Not that that's always what the Super Bowl
Right.
winner is, but like it's just I don't know. And also no one cared. No one even cared. It's like no one was mad that the Rams won. Really,
I said that on the SB Nation NFL
yeah,
show
and
over the offseason. Nobody
no
was
one
like,
cared.
ugh. Like if the Cowboys or Eagles won the Super Bowl, half of our audience would hate life for a year.
Because who are the Rams diehards? I mean, there's certainly you can find people for sure. There's people, but like relative to other fan bases, especially one that
think of a celebrity? Like we can think of like famous Cowboys and Eagles fans, right? That like kind of put on or ride for their teams, like whether it's like recording artists at concerts or like Bryce Harper, or whatever the case may be. Like
an actual Rams fan, not like
right, not just like part of the entourage that's there now.
No, not really. I mean, you just see a lot of people show up because it's LA, and why not? But that's not football either. That's basketball. Like that's what you do for the Lakers. Like you're a star. You don't go to like the Super Bowl or a football game and like hang out because like you're not even visible. You're just in a box somewhere. Like at the game. If you're Spike Lee or whoever, someone like famous sitting on the sideline of the Garden, like you're there. Like everyone can see you, even when you're like the camera's not directly on you. But anyway, we digress here. I will say on the TO point you mentioned earlier. Arguably, as we've said, a white whale for us in terms of guests. Definitely want to get T.O. on. I feel like he is the most NFC East mixtape player in possibly in NFC East history.
Mm-hmm. That's very well said. Shout out, of course, to T.O. I don't know when episode 100 will be. Obviously, that's in 19 weeks. That's what, like 5 months from now. So that's like March. So maybe like free agency. So who knows? Maybe that's what we shoot for is T.O. for episode 100.
I would love to have him on and like drink some of his wine and review that maybe or whatever. Yeah,
maybe. We've gotten 6.5 minutes in and haven't talked about any of the current events in the NFC East, which is kind of par for the course here. The Philadelphia Eagles were on bye, so they therefore were the only team in the division not to play this past week, but they were also the only team in the division not to win. A perfect clean sweep for the NFC East this past week. The Dallas Cowboys downing the Detroit Lions, the New York Giants surviving against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Washington Commanders with Taylor Heineke. Not Tyler. I don't know why the national media can't remember this dude's name.
I never see that. I feel like people say that they do that, but I never see it that way.
I hear it. I've heard it in many podcasts, but you're right. I mean, I think when you write something, you're like more prone to double check.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've definitely never seen it, but maybe you've heard it. Yeah.
They took down the Green Bay Packers. In fact, I picked the Commanders over on our other show that we do on the SB Nation NFL show. You did not. You were not brave enough or bold enough. So we put you in the icebox and you lost. I mean, obviously we have to go in divisional standing, but like, what is there to say about the Eagles? Like they were on bye.
Well, they were on bye, and the Philadelphia Phillies are in the World Series, so that's a big deal. With the Eagles.
Oh, I wanted to say one thing on this, like a serious thing. I like when teams in the same city are either like related in mascot. Like I love that the Detroit Lions and Detroit Tigers are, obviously both in Detroit, and they're actually like right near one another, Ford Field and Comerica Park. That's cool to me. I also like when they have the like similar color schemes. I think that's really cool. You look at like Pittsburgh, exactly. I think that's a really cool thing. I'm not saying it's a not cool thing, but like the Phillies colors are like almost the most opposite things you can get to from the Eagles. Like if you're like a diehard Philly, your wardrobe has got to look a little bit unique. Something like that's all I'm saying. Like it's just got to be a weird thing. It's not as cool as like say Pittsburgh in that one sense.
Which Philly sports team do you think has the best colors out of like let's say the Big Four? Yeah, the Sixers. I think a lot of people. I like the Flyers. I think the black and orange is kind of actually pretty sick.
It's not as like adaptable. Like you can't wear that all year long.
Disagree. The Sixers and Phillies, more similar, not identical, but like more similar, the red, white, and blue kind of stuff. But yeah. So anyway, what's going on with the Eagles? Well, they're on bye, so that's cool. It's kind of the focus on the trade deadline. No, like huge rumors. There was something about their interest in Brian Burns. I don't think that's going to happen.
Wasn't there? I saw you write about they poked around the Christian McCaffrey thing or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think it was Albert Breer who said but it was like very
just like, hey, what's up?
Interest. Yeah, right. It's like, hey, can we give you a fourth for him? And Carolina be like, no. So I think it was kind of just checking in on the price. Although I think if you want to make that into a bigger point, Dave Glazer just said today the Eagles. He could see them trading for a running back, so that they had interest in CMC, I think, speaks to that a little bit there. So, Kareem Hunt has been thrown out there. Melvin Gordon has ties to Nick Sirianni. David Montgomery is someone people think who could be available. I think Jamal Williams
2.0.
not as good. I think at least from the stats thus far, I think Jamal Williams from the Lions could be another name too. Someone who can kind of provide power or can give this team some more pass catching juice. I don't big takeaway from what I'm saying here is I don't think the Eagles are going to make any kind of like huge splash move because I don't really need to. Their roster is mostly set, but I think they could look to add some depth here. I will note that Howie Roseman has made a trade at every deadline since 2017, which is the Jay Ajayi trade year, except for 2020 when the team was really bad. So, history says he's going to make a move. It might not be the biggest move, but he's probably going to do something. So I guess that's really all that's going on.
Okay, so we're on trade watch for the Eagles.
Sure.
Obviously, they're 6-0. Speaking of the Steelers, that is their opponent.
Yeah,
this
we
week.
Spin ahead a little bit.
They were once the same team. They were called the Steagles. Oh my gosh,
no one talks about this as much as you do.
I promise you, it will be said on the broadcast this week.
Of course it will, but
that's stupid. Why we don't have to say this? Like, I hate when like broadcasts parachute in and they haven't done an Eagles game or whatever, so they feel the need to I tell you what, Jalen Hurts, when he got benched for Tua Tagovailoa at Alabama, he really locked down and he got it together and he took what he needed to over to Oklahoma. Like, we don't need the same stories told, people. That's all I'm saying. But back to the trade deadline. The Dallas Cowboys did make.
I don't think we were done with the Eagles. I thought we don't want to spin into a preview at all because
we're going to preview all the games after. We got to go in sequence. We got to tie a bow on the week and then look forward. So the Dallas Cowboys did pull off a trade on Tuesday, the day we record this, sending their 2023 6th-round pick to the Las Vegas Raiders for defensive tackle Jonathan Hankins. They did also receive the Raiders' 7th-round pick in 2024. So that's a true, we really just want to move on from this guy move from the Raiders. By the way, I was going to say, when we mentioned Christian McCaffrey, just back to the Rams, they're so insignificant that if any other team had what is going on with Cam Akers going on with them, it would be a daily story around the NFL. You know what I mean? Like team just all of a sudden doesn't want to play this dude and is he's done. He's got to what on earth? You know what I mean? It's proof of how juiceless they nobody cares. They're so uninteresting.
There is a lot of that. I know you mentioned that on the SB Nation NFL show as well. It's the Rams are moving on from him, and it's okay, but why?
Yeah, exactly. Nobody cares.
It's just very definitive. Well, they're moving on from him. It's just accepted fact. It's sure, but why?
The day after, it was he's played his last down for the team. Why?
Okay, but it's the insiders are focusing on how definitive it is. It's just he's done. It's I trust you, but I don't
like to come on here and hurl poop at the national insiders, but they don't attack the Rams the way that they don't press those buttons the way they do for. And I'm not even saying the Cowboys or Eagles, but the way they do other teams. I don't know if that's currying favor with Sean McVay and stuff, or if it's just a truly insignificant thing.
There are connections there, right? Isn't that where some of the studio stuff is based too? There's some LA
right.
I mean, also I think the NFL is very sensitive about how the LA teams are viewed because conspiracy theory back in 2017, they won all the awards, which is their first or second year there. McVay won Coach of the Year over Doug Peterson, which is dumb, and then Gurley won Offensive Player. They won all the awards that year, and I think it was a big hey, football's back in LA, and we need to justify it as much as possible. So. I think there's some of that to it in terms of not going after that team.
Jonathan Hankins, though, currently, I know people feel different ways about PFF, but he is currently by Pro Football Focus graded better, has graded more, better, has graded well.
Cowboys defensive lineman except Tristan Hill.
Every Cowboys defensive tackle except Tristan Hill. This has been the one weakness of Dallas's defense so far this year, and I would say Philadelphia exploited that, Washington exploited that, and then just Ron Rivera away from it. The Rams didn't even attack it because who knows why they hate Cam Akers. So this is good. And for such a low cost, I'm all the way down. I don't know what's going on with Neville Gallimore. That is a thing. Prior, he was inactive for the Lions game. He did not have any injury designation whatsoever throughout the week. And then as the inactive list came out, there was this well, he has a wrist injury. And Stephen Jones was on 105.3 The Fan on Monday and was I wouldn't call it a healthy scratch. So
then why wasn't he on the injury report?
I know. I mean, that's a weird situation. And then they trade for a defensive tackle. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he's totally healthy, but I think it's a weird confluence of events going on there. But they did win. You mentioned Jamal Williams. They beat the Detroit Lions 24-6. I do think, and I did say this on the SB Nation NFL show, that the score is far more generous to the Cowboys than the game actually was.
I agree. I watched this game.
big time fourth quarter for them. When the fourth quarter started, they were up 10-6. And I don't know why Tony Romo had this like personal vendetta against the Cowboys in this game. He was like openly doubting Trayvon Diggs' interception for like an hour. He engine like, and then I know he was talking about field position. You said you watched the game. The Lions got down to the 1 yard line late. Looks like they're going to score a touchdown, go up 13-6. And they're down at the 1 yard line, half yard line, whatever. The next play, DeMarcus Lawrence pokes the ball free, and obviously the rest is history. But Romo was like, I tell you what, even after they like watched and showed that Detroit was down short of the goal line, Romo was like, I would have challenged it anyway. Like, what are you doing, Romo? Like, this is stupid. Like to gain an inch, like that's dumb to me. I in one way am more firm in my conviction that like we need to stop hyping up the Lions. This is, there's like, this is not a rebuild. This is just a bad coach right now. Like there's not a reason to believe in this team right now. We got to stop trying to give Dan Campbell some benefit of the doubt. Dak Prescott, had some rust. I think that was obvious, but ultimately finished 19 of 25, 207 to touchdown. Looked like himself in moments, had some bad moments doing a triple coverage twice in the first half. You can argue he got a little bit lucky. I don't think it's a strong or hard to argue thing. But it was a very positive first step. I mean, they're shaking things off. They're kicking the rust off, whatever, while winning. I mean, they're 5-2. This was impossible a month ago.
I just wondered the tone of some of these Cowboys fans who were saying, "Oh, the Eagles didn't beat the Cowboys very impressively." Like, seems like a little talking out of both sides of the mouth. Not from you, but I feel like from others. Like from like, the point is, if you're going to say the Eagles win wasn't that impressive for the Eagles, then you can't say like this win is an amazing one for the Cowboys.
I don't
be consistent. I'm saying if you were like, oh, that Eagles win for the Eagles, that wasn't even that impressive for them.
I don't.
Then you can't be a Cowboys fan saying this Lions win is awesome. This win over the Lions is awesome.
I don't think anybody rational is saying that. To be clear,
not.
But I think the argument is it was not fair. Is not the right word, so don't take it that way. But it was not a fair fight. It was not the best version of the Cowboys that can be conceived that played the Eagles. And so like. Again, I'm not saying it wasn't fair. It's hollow. It's not real. It's Mickey Mouse, whatever. But the argument was, okay, well, this team is going to get their quarterback back, and that makes them a very different football team than the one that lost to the Eagles. And similarly, I don't think that any Cowboys fan is like pounding their chest like, oh, man, they beat the Lions, whatever, blah, blah. But for what it's worth, this was the number one scoring offense in the NFL a few weeks ago. Granted, they've really cooled off, obviously. Cowboys did benefit greatly from some turnovers, but some turnover prone players and not a great head coach, like I said. And contextually, again, this was Dak Prescott's return. Like it was always going to be bumpy and shaky. So I think the rational take is to be very satisfied with what we saw and be hopeful about what's to come in the future.
All right. So a couple takes on this game. Number one, who was it that said the Lions are one of the most overrated teams in the league this year? When we did our little chat with the whiskey influencer, our good friend Tim, on his page on Instagram, I had said back in the summer, I felt like the Lions were being so underrated that they were then overrated. And I think that's
there's a race to get in on the underrated team that it becomes a matter of like a team becoming overrated.
Well, it's always the thing like we rail against too, in terms of like someone bringing up something like it's like their idea and like no one else is saying it. Like, who I think is underrated? The Lions. It's like everyone is saying that.
I don't care what anybody says. The Office is the greatest show of all time.
But yeah, so my biggest thing with the Lions and why it's not like I was like lowest on them, but like I think they were getting a little too much credit. Didn't really overturn their roster a lot, which I think people just kind of glossed over that for some reason. And further in this game specifically, and a reason why that offense has cooled off. So banged up, man. They're missing like offensive linemen. They were missing DJ Shark. They were missing Amon-Ra St. Brown got knocked out early-ish in the game. Like, so like what are you working with at that point? Not to say that they necessarily got all the juice out of the orange that they could remaining and that they did everything possible, but still like you're not working with a lot there. Charles Harris, their top pass rusher, was also out. Like they're dealing with a ton of injuries. So I was never DeAndre Swift didn't play. Like, right. It's just like at some point, like you don't have enough left.
Like both things could be true. What you just said, and that like even when all those things are there, like they're not a great team. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they're
not
like
a great team, but they have
cute
like
and they're spunky
chance.
And like they haven't been good in a long time. So everybody like kind of likes them. And Dan Campbell says some weird stuff. So it's like, oh man, I like the Lions. I want to be the only one. No, dude, like they're bad. I will say, so I tweeted this out. I don't know if you saw. on Tuesday. I forgot what I was going to say on Sunday. The Dallas Cowboys defense, obviously last year was incredible. Everybody knows that. To this point in the season, hang on, I'm trying to pull it up now. I can't find it. 1 second. Buy me some time while they pull it up.
Cowboys did not score more than 3 points in the first half of this game. I also meant to say that. That's not the best look. Obviously,
they did have a fumble near the goal line, which,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fumble, but like, again, just for context.
But still, it's pretty tough. I mean, like, this Lions defense is like the worst in the end. It's been like the worst in the league, and to not
their offense was the best in the league too. If we're, you know what I mean, like,
what do you mean?
I mean, like, things change. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
because everyone got hurt, though. I just outlined that. The defense is also still banged up. It shouldn't. Okay, the point is, the Cowboys should have been reasonably expected to score more than even 10 points, even if they don't fumble there.
Through 7 games last year, again, we all know that the 2021 Cowboys defense is very good. Through 7 games, they had 12 sacks and 14 takeaways. Through 7 games this year, they have 29 sacks, so 17 more, and 12 takeaways, so 2 fewer. I will say, so I tweeted this out, and, you know, admittedly it was a cool stat. So like all these people are like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, look, and then all these people are taking their victory lap. Like, I was told that the turnovers were going to regress to the mean. Yeah, they did. They had 5 against the Lions. 5 of their 12 turnovers this season came against the Lions. Like, let's just, you know, relax is all I'm saying. I'm very excited about it, but let's relax. A home contest against the Bears on Sunday for the Cowboys. I actually feel really bad, and I don't think people in this position say this often, but I'm going to, so that I can always, you know, say that I'm being fair. I think the Bears got screwed here. The Bears coming off of a road Monday night football game, so they're on a short week on the road, and they have to travel for this game against the Cowboys. That's unfair. I mean, it is unfair. I hate when that happens to teams.
Okay. How many?
Well, I'm saying it's unfair for the Bears. I'm saying the Cowboys are being given an advantage.
I get it. I understand what you're saying. Wow.
I don't know. I don't know why this is so hard for the NFL to like not do. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's probably going to happen at some point, but
I saw. I don't know who it was. I saw somebody. What is this week's Thursday night game or next? I don't know. Somebody's. This is Bucks Ravens. Somebody's Thursday night game like coming up. Is like them, or Monday night game is like them coming off their bye or something. So like they don't even get the like advantage that a bye provides. Like that's what I'm saying. These things should be uniform. Like every team coming off their bye should get a team coming off a Sunday game, or you should always schedule two teams facing one another that are both coming off their bye. Like the advantage should be equal, like whether it's an advantage or not. You shouldn't have some teams getting to face somebody coming off their bye, some teams getting somebody off Monday Night Football, whatever. Like different things happen, and that shouldn't be the case.
You shouldn't get to play a home Thursday football game every year. I agree. All these things apply.
You got your wish. Week 17 this year. Cowboys at Tennessee Thursday night.
Yeah, but isn't it coming off of the Thanksgiving game still? So they get like a full week to prepare?
For the first time this year, again, this shows how little research you do. You have gotten your wish. In week 17, the Cowboys will be coming off of a Sunday game, actually against the Philadelphia Eagles. That Christmas Eve game's on. Actually, it's a Saturday, but it is closer than anything.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So, yeah, that's right. I remember that now. Yeah, so even when they're like disadvantaged, they still get a little bit of a boost.
It is closer than anything, to be fair, but also, so they're coming off of a Saturday home game and then have to travel for a road Thursday night. I brought this up on our live show. A lot of people were confused. The only road Thursday games the Cowboys have ever played so far have been preceded by their home Thanksgiving game. Right. So they have had 7 full. It's still, you know, people say like, oh man, blah, blah. So they do have to go Sunday to Thursday, which is a unique thing. But, you know, you can argue that you would rather have that than anything else. It is open to interpretation.
The Eagles have a little bit of a weird thing coming up where they play on Thursday against the Texans, and then they don't play again until Monday. So kind of an interesting long layoff between.
Did you know that game is happening in the middle of the World Series between Houston and Philadelphia? Oh,
it is very convenient how it timed out, where every off day in the World Series is an Eagles game. So the first one will be Friday. The World Series starts both in Houston, and then the Eagles-Steelers game on Sunday, and then 3 Phillies games, off day, Eagles.
I mean, the way more coincidental thing is the Thursday night game.
Eagles-Texans. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying it worked out nicely for when the Phillies beat the Astros.
Do you really think that's happening? Like in your objective mind? You really
I don't have any doubt in my mind it's happening.
Okay. All right. And how many games?
It's the same thing. It could be. If they take one, I think 5 is entirely possible. The team hasn't lost at home in the playoffs. You doubted the crowd.
The Astros haven't lost at all in the playoffs.
This crowd is crazy. Doesn't matter.
this is the dumbest thing that Philadelphia fans do. All right, is that you think the crowd is some sort of like,
dude, it's crazy.
factor.
You don't understand. You
You're
just
right,
don't
Brandon.
understand. You
You're
weren't
right.
there.
The Astros have
How
no
much
idea.
are tickets going right now?
The Astros have
Philly?
no idea what a World Series or what
why do you think
a
tickets are that
hostile
much?
crowd is like. The Astros just played 2 games in New York, the like pinnacle
different.
of places that hate them.
Come on. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
like
New York's
I mean,
the toughest place to play. They've only won 1 billion championships. People are really starving for another one up there.
I also think the reason Philadelphia tickets are more expensive because they haven't been to the World Series in forever. This is the Astros'
that's the
4th
point.
and 6th
Fans
years.
really want to be there. Like they're fully invested. This is not casual.
This idea that like, oh, they're going to yell, they're going to call them cheaters. Like,
right.
like they haven't been through like the tour of if literally any team in sports is prepared for a hostile environment, it's the Houston Astros. But I digress.
Who cheat, by the way.
Speaking of New York, the New York Giants won again.
New York football. The football is back in New York football Giants.
The New York back at football Giants got the win 23-17. We also got to stop trying to make the Jaguars a thing. Like it's no longer just a bad roster. It's also like they're not good.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the quarterback. Like there was
that's what I mean. Like partly like we got to start placing. I'm not saying Doug Peterson is like 50% of the problem. He's definitely got his fair share, but Trevor Lawrence deserves the biggest chunk.
Majority. Like because honestly, as I watched this game as well, and I'm telling you, dude, there were 2 wide open touchdowns. One was on a wheel route. Like you just you drop it in the bucket. Okay, it's somewhat of a tough throw, but like he's open. You have to hit that. If you're the number 1 overall pick, you're the generational quarterback prospect. You make that throw. It's not that he had a clean pocket, misses that throw, and then he had another one where dude was literally wide open in the end zone, streaking free, and you could see. I don't know what happened. The ball coming off his hand was just like so weird. It's like Carson Wentzian level overthrows where it's just inexplicable why he's overthrowing him by that much. And he left 2 touchdowns on the field like that. And that one of those drives was when they fumbled into the end zone and then turned it over. So like, dude, Trevor Lawrence sucked in this game. And at the end of the game, obviously, like he was bailed out, by the way. I don't know if you saw that he threw a pick right to
the roughing the passer penalty in this game that was ridiculous.
Yeah, but like the pick was such a bad, like who was he throwing to? Like there's no one there. He just threw right to the Giants. And then obviously he throws short of the marker in the end zone. At the end, like he stunk, dude. He stunk in this game. And I just think he stinks. And look, to the Giants' credit, they took advantage of it. But like if that's a competent quarterback there, he's making those throws, and that's not a Giants win.
Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. Who's the best quarterback from that class right now?
The best right now in terms of most accomplished, so not necessarily like the highest ceiling.
You got to pick one right now and start a team with them. You got to trade Jalen Hurts straight up for one of them right now.
You want me to say Justin Fields, so I'm not going to say it.
No, I don't. I really don't care who you say. I think it's a sad
good
question.
Performance. Yeah, I mean maybe Trey Lance just because he's like the ultimate unknown. And he might he's pretty young.
It's just like, well, I'll take the lottery ticket, right? Like I'll take the hidden door.
Yeah, I don't know over the ones I do. Yeah.
I mean, I think the best argument is for Zach Wilson.
No,
I mean,
dude, he sucks, dude.
I know he sucks, but like they all suck.
Terrible.
I mean,
but he's literally never looked good. Like Trevor Lawrence at least has had like a good game or two. Zach Wilson has never even had like
this was supposed to be about the Giants.
Yeah. Anyway,
two 100-yard rushers. Daniel Jones, 107 yards with 11 carries. Saquon Barkley. That is the thing we have been the most wrong about in the history of the mixtape.
That's
Granted, it was very improbable, but to his credit, he pulled it off.
I don't regret it. It's like
I don't either. No, like I would
bet on running backs coming back from injuries. That's not like a smart bet to me.
We've joked about it, but he really is making it difficult, I think, for them in terms of what they're going to do with him in the offseason. I think we
know what they're going to do.
I think it's still fair to move on from Daniel Jones, but I mean, man.
Oh, they're not going to do that. I think he's actually played really well. I really like he's not in a way where like he's like Mahomes or he's on fire and he's torching the defense, but he's gotten so good at like doing what Hurts does basically in terms of like managing the game, not turning it over, being smart with the ball, and making really good accurate throws. And obviously his mobility is huge too. So yeah, I think I mean, it kind of looks dumb for them now in terms of like not picking up the 5th-year option because that would have been a nice like another year to bring him back, like one more year potentially just on that because now they're gonna have to pay him. But I think they might live with that.
It enforces. I agree with you that they'll live with it, but I think it enforces for me that like if you get to the like decision point of 5th-year option, you always pick it up on a quarterback. You have to like it's
because the upside.
Yeah, exactly. Because of the bargain that it could be, and I recognize how like unlikely it is, but who like Mitchell Trubisky's was declined. I mean, I'm not saying the Bears like probably feel like they wish they would have done that, but like again, I would rather take that lottery ticket than like banking on Justin Fields. You know what I mean? Working out. The Giants, according to 538, Pete Sweeney did not like this exercise on Monday Football Monday. I don't know if you heard that. He doesn't believe in math, I guess. The New York Giants have the one. If you factor in ties, they have the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth best odds of making the playoffs this season. And this is 538's quarterback adjusted forecast. So, the only teams ahead of them, the Eagles and Bills currently 99% chance playoff bound. The Chiefs 96, Cowboys 94, and my Minnesota Vikings at 92%. But the Giants ahead of the Titans, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Dolphins, all AFC teams, obviously. The Bucks down at 61%, even including the division they play in. That's wild.
Well, I mean, yeah. I thought you were saying that's good.
No. Like that's really depressing if you're a Bucks fan. Like because you should cakewalk to the NFC South.
Who is winning that? I mean, probably I'm still take the Bucks to win that because everyone else is also so bad. But
if I have to pick a non-Bucks team that I have to believe in, it's the Falcons. But I don't want to do that.
I guess the NFC South is the new NFC least.
The NFC, I saw Lindsey Rhodes tweet this out. The highest point differential in the NFC South belongs to the Bucks. Do you know what it is?
-3.
It is the number of losses that the Houston Astros have in the playoffs so far. 0.
They have 0 point. They're even.
That's crazy. The top 2 teams in the NFL by point differential are the Eagles and the Cowboys. Granted, the Cowboys just had an 18-point win. So that, again, the Lions win has inflated a few things.
The Cowboys have also played one more game than the Eagles. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just putting that out there. But I think the Giants are going to be a playoff team. I don't know. We said this last week. This week's Giants Seahawks game is nice.
Big game. I like the Seahawks, by the way. I know I made them my lock of the week last week. They're honestly, that was one of my biggest.
You and I
are
very good at locks of the week, by the way, on the SB Nation.
6-1, baby. And the only one I did was Emotional Hedge. That's the only one I lost on. The Seahawks scare me in terms of like team that I think could be like the Phillies of this NFL playoffs. Like this team like that you don't want to play that kind of comes out of nowhere. I do think there's something scary there. Like I'm not like scared shaking in my boots of them, but like I think they have the potential to be a lot better than people realize. So that's going to be a big game. And I think I'm going to take the Seahawks to win it. I think.
Do you know what the line is off the top of your head? I don't know if you left.
I have not.
Seattle by 3.
Should be. So sounds right. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I know. I mean, I don't know how we talked about this, but like, I don't know how the Giants were underdogs last week. I can kind of get it this week because like we've seen the Seahawks put up a lot of points, but like, what was there to believe in the Jaguars? I mean, again, I understand that that the Giants have their flaws, but this was a really good win for them. I mean, so say they lose to I want to get to Thanksgiving because that's an important day, obviously, as we've talked about. So say they lose, so they're 6-2 prior to the Seahawks. I think that's being conservative, but you never know. Then they're on bye. There are 2 games before the Thanksgiving Day matchup: Houston and Detroit, both at home.
Yeah. And then you're looking at what, 8-2 there?
8-2, right? 8-2.
And they team. Could, Seattle's beatable. So they could feasibly go 9-1.
If they were 9-1 on Thanksgiving, they'd be 9-1, and their lone loss would be to the team that they're playing on Thanksgiving in the Cowboys. By the way, I can't confirm this, but so the Cowboys are wearing their throwbacks on Thanksgiving. Obviously, the ones I'm talking about, the like navy with the white.
Their best
shoulders.
Uniform, yeah.
Wow. Never thought I'd see the day. I don't like it because of the white helmet. But I think that the Giants are wearing their home jerseys, the light blue. I don't want that. I don't want the throwback against the blue. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the throwback's like mostly navy.
Blue.
Yeah, you can't have navy against light blue. That would be weird. We're gonna get something very strange this Sunday, by the way. In case Cowboys fans don't know, they're going navy tops, silver bottoms, which they rarely do at home. And I believe, Brandon, the Bears are wearing their orange helmets and orange uniforms. So we got navy and orange.
How are we talking
very
about
Houston Astros week, though?
In the Giants segment here. Why do you think the Giants are good? Like, what do you think? I mean, obviously, Dable is getting a lot of credit. I think he deserves it. And as we said last week, I don't think it's just him. I think it's the coaching staff as a whole. I think it's a strong coaching staff. At the same time, like, you still have to admit, like, they can't keep winning all these one-score games, like, forever. Like, there's gonna be negative regression there at some point. Although I will say it does scare me that they're getting what they're getting out of this team, because you think about the Giants next year, and they're gonna have like resources and
but next year they'll be in line for the regression, right? The one score games.
That is some of what offset it. I'm sure they'll lose some members of their coaching staff potentially too. But we've said going into the season, the arrow is pointing up on them, and I think more so. And look, for what the Giants have been for so long, you'll take it being that team that kind of wins a little bit unsustainably. Certainly nothing to like really thumb your nose at. Does anyone thumb their nose at anything? It's not. It's an expression, but I don't think anyone actually really does that.
This is thumbing your nose. Oh, like that.
I thought it was like that.
I did like
I don't know.
pig.
So for the audio,
I think
audience,
it's like
RJ put his thumb on his nose and held it there, and I kind of like.
I think it's kind of like acting disinterested, like you know what I mean, like just trying to move on, like don't talk to me.
People should start doing that.
Do you know what their point differential is? The New York Giants.
It has to be low because, actually, I did look it up at one point. It's probably like what? So they've won a bunch of games, so it's probably like what plus 18.
Oh, hang on, I'm looking at turnover differential. But what do you think their turnover differential is?
I don't know. I have no idea for that. I mean, Daniel Jones hasn't turned the ball over a lot. I guess they're like plus 3.
Plus 3 exactly.
Wow.
So their turnover differential. I'm sorry, their point differential. Goodness gracious. Eagles are plus 56. Cowboys are plus 30. The Commanders minus 31. The Giants plus 20. Do you factor if you figure that out, like over 6 wins? You know what I'm saying? Like that's
you're getting by, and
that's 3 points, like just almost 3, barely over 3 points a game. Like
they also have not even like controlled a lot of these games. It's not like hey they're up and then they kind of hold on. It's like they're kind of like battling and they're getting back into it.
It looked like they were going to lose this game against the Jaguars, and then
exactly it will look like they're going to lose the Ravens game.
So like I hate to throw the umbrella out like why are they good? I think it's coaching, but it's because like they can survive the stupid stuff that other teams do, right? Like, and that sounds like a flaw. That sounds like you're not doing something, but that's something that a lot of teams can't do. Like the Chargers can't do that right now. You know what I mean? Like, but the Giants can. So good for them.
They're not in their own way. Yeah, they can. They can get out of their own way.
All right, let's head to the final game of the week. The Washington Commanders. Taylor Heineke, not Tyler Heineke. Taylor Heineke took down the Green Bay Packers. The number 4 is kind of coming back in the NFL.
Did we get into the Cowboys before we got into the Giants?
We did. I'm so sorry. That actually was my bad. I truly forgot. It's just habit. Old habits die hard. So it's my bad. My serious and most profound apologies to the New York Giants. But in my defense, I'm kind of riding high off of owning New York with the
Cowboys podcast.
Astros, Giants, Astros, Cowboys, Astros, Yankees. Goodness gracious. The Washington Commanders won by 2. Speaking of close games against the Green Bay Packers. The Packers have now lost to the Giants, Jets, and Commanders all in a row. Man, you just hate to see it. Hate to see it. So bothered to see it. I'm so bummed. I'm so sad for Aaron Rodgers. Taylor Heineke, 20 of 33, 201 yards, 2 touchdowns. Brian Robinson, 20 carries. Looks like he's like all the way back. That's obviously we're all excited about that. Terry McLaurin back in the end zone, 5 catches, 73 yards. On the subject of like not getting in your own way, this kind of felt like it's one thing to win in the NFL, like win impressively. I don't know that like any team, like we've talked about this, like I don't know that any team has like a really impressive win, but it's another thing to like win the games you're supposed to win. And I think a lot of teams are doing that. This was the Commanders kind of doing that. Like they went and beat a bad team. I know that's strange because of the Packers, but they did it. They beat a bad team. So good for Ron Rivera.
I think there's something to be said for Taylor Heineke having moxie. That's the word everyone wants to use to describe him. But there's something there where I feel like from an outside perspective and quite possibly on the team as well, it's like you go into a game with Taylor Heineke and you feel like you have some kind of puncher's chance at winning. Like we have a chance at winning today. Are we the favorites? No. But do we have a chance? Yes. And RJ's heading away for this, by the way, for the audio audience. And I want to make a key point that I want him to react to. So now I'm delayed on that because he is gone. I guess he's taking care of Bear or his son. Who knows for sure. But yeah, I think Heineke gives them a chance. Whereas, well, I want to get to this when RJ is back, but he's not back. So I'm just stalling now for time. We should talk really quick while he's gone. Totally different topic about how the Phillies are going to beat the Astros in the World Series. You can lock it up. I don't care that the Astros haven't lost yet. This is like, again, 2017 Eagles going up against the Patriots. Everyone's like, how could the Eagles possibly beat Tom Brady and Bill Belichick? Well, I said checks. Didn't mean to say that. Well, they could because they were freaking like the team of destiny, and you could see it. You could see that the Eagles were not going to lose, and it never looked like they were until Brandon Graham was able to force that fumble. All right, RJ's back. I had to delay my point because I wanted you to react to this. I wanted you to say, like get your thoughts on this. So I think going into a game with Heineke, I feel like there's this feeling we have a puncher's chance. With Carson Wentz, like the vibes are just so bad. Like you're almost waiting for something to go wrong when Carson Wentz. Like, of course, there's the big mistake that everyone was waiting to see happen. There's the fumble, so you can never not fumble. So I think the vibes have been improved with Heineke. At the very least, if not the talent level or not raw talent, but in terms of the overall like Madden score of your quarterback, let's say, has improved from Heineke to Wentz. At the very least, the vibes have, and that goes not all the way. It's not like the Commanders are going to even make the playoffs now, but at least you can win some games, and you cannot be like a total mess and disaster and have everyone just feeling awful about the team. So I think that's what Heineke does give them. And I will say, for as much as I don't believe in the Commanders making some triumphant return, I mean, Chase Young's return is still on the horizon. So, like, they still have some hope that they can get a little bit better, but they still have a tough schedule too.
Yeah, their schedule is very difficult. I mean, this week they've got the Fraud Colts in Fraud City with a quarterback who went to a fraud school in Sam Ellinger because the Colts are so fraudulent that they've now thrown Matt Ryan under the bus. But at Indianapolis, then that's a fairly easy game, obviously. But after that,
well, I don't know. I mean, if you're Washington, you'd rather play Matt Ryan. Like,
I know,
Ellinger
but
might be better
relative to find me an easier game on the schedule after this. So at Indianapolis, Minnesota, at Philly, the Monday night game, or maybe at Houston, Atlanta, not easy, obviously. At New York, New York, at San Francisco, Cleveland. We don't know what that's going to look like. Obviously,
Watson will be back,
right?
Probably, yeah.
And that's week 17, so he'll be back.
Okay, yeah,
accustomed
in the flow of the
right.
Yeah.
And again, we don't know what that'll look like, but obviously a tougher game.
Sure, but he's better than Jacoby Brissett at the very least.
Right. And then Dallas to wrap it up. So I'm with you. It felt like I feel like you do this a lot. You're a pretty big foodie. Like, it felt like when you go to a restaurant, you're like, what are you good at? You know what I mean? Like, what's this place known for? You know what I mean? You're like, oh, you guys make great like swordfish. I'm not really feeling swordfish, but okay, like, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, let's try. Let's live a little. Let me try something I've never had before. And to your point, it's like it's more of an adventure than like the same old. And like, I don't think that's a criticism of Wentz, but it's just like they're stale with him. Like, they needed this spark. And again, it's not really a spark, but they needed this change of scene badly.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to last. It's only going to go so far, but it's more exciting. It's just from an entertainment standpoint as a Washington Commanders fan, you just rather see this. Like, okay, this is at least somewhat like kind of enjoyable, fun at times, if not the whole way through. And again, it feels like we have a chance to win today, as opposed to we're walking into this game like defeated and waiting for something to go totally wrong. So, yeah, I again don't think they're going to be making the playoffs, although the NFC is very weak. So, I mean, from that standpoint, it's not impossible, but I think the damage is kind of done there, and there will not be 4 teams making the playoffs. It'll be the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Giants, probably in that order.
We're still waiting on that, by the way, since like in this new world, a 4-team, because that's possible, obviously, with the 3 wild cards. Hey, that
would be fun, especially for our podcast.
That will be back-to-back years, by the way, that the NFC East, the NFC East is the very least going to send 2 teams to the playoffs. So it will be back-to-back years. The division has sent multiple teams to the playoffs, which, again, everybody hating on this division. You know what I call it, Brandon? Because they're so good. I don't call it the NFC East. I call it the NFC Beast.
Oh, wow.
Trademark. And I don't know if you've seen this, but this isn't relative to the NFC Beast, but it did just happen while we were recording. Kansas City Chiefs defensive end Frank Clark was suspended 2 games for violating the NFL's personal. I'm just saying it's news. I mean, and I checked to make sure, like, I don't know, maybe they were playing like the Vikings or something this week. Just off the top of my head, they're on bye. Then they have the Titans at home on Sunday Night Football. Then the Jaguars. So Pete Tweeney got a lot of work ahead of him today. Okay, let's take. No, you know what? The break has already come because Rachel is fantastic. She has already gone back and put the break in somewhere that makes more sense time-wise.
Oh wow, I'm just seeing something too here. I'm seeing secret communication of sea animals discovered. This is on BBC. This is happening live during the podcast.
You know what? My thing was related to the NFL. So shout out to me. That was super
jump
unnecessary.
in with breaking news updates.
Look, everyone who listens to this is an NFL fan, right? Like, I don't know, if somebody's taking the Chiefs or something, do you have a ticket on the Chiefs? I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to look out for, we talk about the NFL for a living. All right. So I'm just trying to keep people updated. All right.
By the way, I should probably bring this up. This actually is not a bit, and it is relevant. There's a headline right now on hogshaven.com that says Carson Wentz should never take another snap for the Commanders.
Good times. Who's he the quarterback for next year?
It's not in the NFL.
No, he'll be a backup quarterback.
No, Jimmy is like insistent on this too. I think people are thinking about this all wrong. When has he ever shown the inclination that like he thinks he is not the guy, and like he has the self-awareness and is able to humble himself and realize his situation? Never. He's never been in that position. So why are we just assuming that's going to happen?
Wouldn't it be like a Dan Campbell, like, I've seen cars, like
I don't think he is the starter or he's not playing. He'll hang out in the free agent market.
I agree with you that it should be that way, but like, what? Okay, let me rephrase the question. This is more fun. What would be the most fun place for us for him to be the backup quarterback in? The backup quarterback, clearly. I know the answer. Just
the Giants.
No, I disagree.
Why would that not be fun? That would be fun.
The answer is the Cardinals. Imagine Carson trying to like calm the debate between Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. So I want to see him on the same team as Nick Foles. I really want to see that.
Well, that's not going to happen. He wouldn't do it. He would never sign with that team. I think he hangs out in free agency and hoping there's some kind of like injury basically or some kind of opening where he has to come in or like, a team goes into the season with a couple options that they talk themselves into, but then they both stink in training camps. They have to like desperation sign him. I think it's something like that. Yeah, I think it's something like that.
Okay. So the Colts, we talked about briefly, but it is worth mentioning because they made their change at quarterback this season. And it is for the season, okay, at least according to the fraud that is Frank Reich. So Matt Ryan not going to be the quarterback for the Colts. The Colts have already played the Commanders. No, they played them this week, obviously. Excuse me, my bad. That's it. They haven't played anybody else. They have the Commanders this week. They have the Eagles in week 11. They are at Dallas. That is the next Sunday night game the Cowboys will play in. That's week 13. That's the first weekend of December. And then they are at the New York Giants in week 17. So all three of the playoff teams seemingly in the division will get Sam Ehlinger as opposed to Matt Ryan. Maybe Nick Foles gets in there at some point in time. Like I don't think that's impossible at this point.
Yeah, Ehlinger would just have to be like really terrible, I guess.
I mean, isn't that like well within the range of possibilities?
Yeah, well, but even then, I guess too. But I mean, like, but like so bad that like like can't even function at all, and it's like just embarrassing. I mean, if he struggles, then you keep him in there because you're bad anyway, and you're trying to see if he can play through it. But yeah,
I think this is notable though, and this is an important thing for the division because not only is there a quarterback change, and not only did Frank Reich specify that the plan is for it to be for the rest of the season, he could be fired, right? Like that's. That is an important detail for the NFC East.
He should be fired.
Look, dude. I mean, you're preaching to the choir here. All right,
he's gonna end back up
in Philly.
I mean, yeah, Nick Sirianni and him are like boys. So that's going to be. So Shane Steichen's going to become the head coach of the Colts or the Panthers or whoever, and then Reich will come back and be Philly's offensive coordinator.
That would be really funny. He is to the Eagles what Matt Nagy is to the Chiefs. So,
yeah.
Wow. Anyway, so that's an important detail. Like as we look down the second half, we're getting close to that point of the season, is that a team that every single one of these top three teams play, Commanders, could be void of Frank Reich, could be void of even Sam Ehlinger at this point in time. The Eagles this coming week, as we mentioned.
Oh, they're not going to fire Frank Reich in season. Sorry, I didn't mean that.
I think they could. I totally think they could. No, dude, they're at that
Colts.
point.
They have class. Like they have some like BS like that going on. When's the last time they fired a coach in season? Because they didn't fire Pagano in season, right?
No, and remember when they were gonna fire him and they had the like players go up to like Irsay's office and like Rudy put their jerseys on the table type thing, and they kept them around.
Frank Reich's like too nice of a guy to fire in season. You know what I mean?
That's so stupid. He's an awful head coach. I mean,
you know what I'm talking about though? Like, but they won't, because like I think the people who get canned like that are like a-holes, and I don't think he's like that.
One of them's got to go though, like him or Chris Ballard. Somebody's got to get fired.
I agree. I'm not saying merit. Like, I'm just saying what likelihood.
They've got the Commanders this week. I think we're both probably taking the Commanders to win, right? Then they're at New England, and they stink. But again, these are the Colts. Then they're at Vegas. They got the Eagles, the Steelers, the Cowboys. Like, what's the win? Like, what game are they winning in this stretch?
The Colts are one of 11 teams who have not fired a head coach midseason since 2000. So 22 years.
I mean, whatever. Eagles have the Steelers this coming week.
Steelers.
Steelers.
Did you know they were the same team?
I hate that so much.
Eagles are 11-point favorites.
That grew, right? Because it was 10.5, I think, or 10.
I think it opened at like 10.5. Yeah, now it's 11, or maybe it changed since whatever. But the point is, it's double digits. The Steelers have not won in Philadelphia since 1965.
In Pittsburgh.
No, the Steelers have not won in Philadelphia since 1965.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I misheard you. Wow. Yeah. Holy crap.
The game's in Philly.
Wow.
I mean, they've only played 9 times, but still, the Steelers are.
They've won multiple Super Bowls.
They're a really good franchise for whatever reason.
Super Bowls since then.
And I know it's different teams, so that doesn't always mean everything. But I think there is something to a fact this, a history of a team not playing super well somewhere. I said it about the Eagles in Arizona, and that worried me. And sure enough, that game was pretty close. I'm not saying it means.
I think that only
everything.
matters if you're Frank Reich and you're a fraud and you're in.
I don't know. I think there could be something to that. So the mentality of that, I don't know. Maybe there's nothing to it, but it's the evidence. The evidence is that they don't typically play well. It doesn't mean they can't, but they have not historically played well in Philadelphia. And I know Steelers fans feel that way. I've talked to Steelers fans, including Jeff Hartman from Behind the Steel Curtain, who back when the Steelers were good, I used to I would talk to him about whatever Steelers-Eagles game. They had one back in 2016.
Steelers. Right.
And he was always every time they played in Philly, it lost. I don't care. They're just gonna lose.
Man, they were a Donovan McNabb choke away from meeting in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 43 could have been Steelers.
Keystone State Bowl. That's right.
Wow. In the most opposite state from Philadelphia in Arizona. Interesting. Okay.
What? Why is that true?
Geographically, top right, bottom left. You know what I'm saying? Crisscross.
Okay.
But what I wanted to say about this game is I think this is the last chance for the loss we didn't see coming for the Eagles. Or not last chance, but the greatest chance in this upcoming stretch. My point is we talk about can you see a path? I could totally see a path where the Steelers do it, because again, that's the Steeler way. Now different teams, whatever, but it is Mike Tomlin. It's so impossible to completely totally count him out. I'm not banking on that by any stretch, but I can talk myself into that happening much more than I can the Texans winning in the middle of the World Series, or the Commanders winning on Monday Night Football, or the Colts winning, and even maybe not more than the Packers, because the quarterback matters so much. But so that game is week 12. I think this is, again, I'm not saying there's a high probability for a loss. I think this is the highest opportunity for a loss until that Packers game. And even that Packers game Packers are 10-point dogs against the Bills this week. Not that the Eagles are the Bills, but they're very close, obviously.
So I agree on the Tomlin point. Factually, no team has been better against the spread as underdogs since he was hired in 2007. The Steelers have the best record against the spread. They're 48, 28, and 5. So 63.2 cover percentage against the spread. And then they're 39 and 42 straight up, which is also the best. I know that's slightly below 500. That might not seem impressive, but as an underdog to almost be 500 as an underdog, that's pretty good. And if you shorten that sample to the last several years to kind of give you more of an idea of something closer to this Steelers team than teams back in 2007. They're 23, 10 and 1 against the spread, and 17 and 7 straight up. So yeah, they're a team that certainly cannot entirely be discounted as underdogs. Now, you were talking about point differential earlier. Do you know the team that ranks dead last in the NFL in point differential?
I thought it was the Saints. Or is it
the Steelers?
Wow.
Yeah. So
maybe I was still looking at turnover differential when I saw that.
So not a good team. And do you also know who has 2 touchdowns and 7 interceptions this season? It's Kenny Pickett. Maybe he's due for some good luck or positive regression, because that's a lot of. It's also 7 picks, and I think Matt Ryan and Stafford have more. They also have obviously a lot more passing attempts than he does. I acknowledge the Tomlin factor, but I just think the Eagles defense is probably going to be able to come away with some turnovers. And there's still if TJ Watt was playing in this game, yeah, I'd be a little bit more worried, but he's not. He's still banged up. So not too worried. There's talking about angles, RJ. Kenny Pickett grew up as an Eagles fan. He grew up in Ocean Township, New Jersey. So there's going to be
Bryce
a lot
Harper,
of that.
grew up a Cowboys fan, though. So
it's going to be. Again, you're not hurting me with this, because he's going to beat the Astros in the World Series and then be World Series MVP, and then he'll be at an Eagles game, I'm sure, with the World Series trophy that the Astros did not win. They did not cheat enough to allow themselves to win it. I mean, it's just factually true. They cheated. Like you have to acknowledge it. They literally did. They got punished for it. They're cheaters. This is a life you have to live.
I mean,
they cheated.
Look, I'm not going to flesh this subject out, but like this is a case where multiple things are true as well. But I don't want to go down that tangent because I want to get through previewing all these
There's
games.
no leg to stand on.
The Eagles. I'm not trying to stand, but whatever. That's different conversation. So we both think the Eagles win. I'll take the Steelers to cover, just cause. But I mean, this is I think it's like a late backdoor cover.
I will say on BGN real quick to that point, like 1,735 votes, 36% have the Steelers covering. So it's not like Eagles fans.
Well, yeah, Eagles fans really feeling themselves right now. No city in the world is as like narcissistic in this moment as Philadelphia.
No, I'm saying like that seems lower to me than I would expected. Only 64% are saying the Eagles are going to cover. I thought it would be more than that.
So we both got the Eagles winning. The Giants, as mentioned, on the road at Seattle, 3-point underdogs.
Give me the points, baby. Seahawks. I can't pick my Seahawks for lock of the week because I already picked them for the look ahead, but I feel pretty good about the Seahawks.
Wait, so you're laying the points? You're not taking the points?
No, you said. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm giving the points.
Right.
Yes.
I'm not gonna pick against the Giants until like the bottom truly comes out. I recognize that we all like anticipated to come out soon, but I'm done kind of like expecting that. I'm interested. So I'll take the Giants.
But they have to lose. They're so due for a loss. Right?
I know they are.
Aren't they more
like
than any other team? Aren't they due for a loss?
The Seahawks haven't been like the sustainable monster week in and week out. Like they've had down games too. So sure. I'll take the Giants. At this point, I trust Brian Dable more than I trust Pete Carroll. And I certainly trust Pete Carroll more than I did in the summer. Obviously, Pete Carroll's having quite the glow up. But I'll take the Giants just marginally. I'll certainly take them to cover. I think they win though, but I'm not taking that. But I'm doing points.
I like the Seahawks.
I know
it's not even disrespect to.
I know you do. They're another green bird team that has a first round pick that's going to be amazing in 2023 because another NFL team is stupid. That's your thing. That's your bit.
I did like the Seahawks, even pre-Russ. Honestly, I do have a soft spot for them. I used to play with them as maybe I've talked about this before with the Sean Alexander Madden 2005.
That was such a fun Madden year.
Yeah. Bobby Taylor was on those Seahawks.
Again, that was a really good Seahawks team. So you were like a front runner back then. I mean, they obviously were coming out the Super Bowl or about to make the Super Bowl at the time.
Like a front runner. I wasn't a fan of them, but I had a soft spot for them. I could respect them.
We all have the Madden teams that we used. My cousin and I loved to use the Steve McNair, Eddie George Titans. Just loved it.
Okay. So. Yeah. That is a Madden team.
I miss those Titans uniforms so much. Like, I don't like the new Titans uniforms. I miss the white helmet. Like, it was such a clean looking helmet. But anyway,
one of the Madden teams I used was the what was his name? Josh. What was the Bucs quarterback? His name?
Freeman.
Yeah, Josh Freeman, LeGarrette Blunt. The creamsicle version. I used them with my buddy Alex online, and we would LeGarrette Blunt had like a 99 stiff arm almost or whatever. So just like mash the A button and like no one could tackle us.
Former Titan LeGarrette Blunt too. Obviously former Eagle.
Was he? Briefly?
Yeah. And I vividly remember him throwing that punch while at Oregon. Like I vividly remember that moment.
Yeah, everyone remembers that.
But
I also vividly remember him helping the Eagles win the Super Bowl.
Anyway, okay, so I'm taking the Eagles and Giants. You're taking the Eagles and Seahawks. Cowboys are, I think it's down to 9.5. Monday Night Football had a lot of people sniffing around the Bears.
Oh my God, what an overrated Justin Fields performance! This guy, no one gets more credit for being like making like a good play or two.
Do you? On the subject of like you mentioned the Steelers having not won in Philadelphia since what was it 1965? That was the Bears' first win ever in Foxborough. That's crazy to me.
I believe it.
I do think like there is something cool to me to them preventing Belichick from passing George Halas. Like I'm a sucker for like NFL history like that. Like I love the story of the 85 Bears, for example, the lone loss being to the Dolphins. Like that is super cool. You know what I'm saying? Like and like at least at that point, like in 1985, the Dolphins were like 13 years removed, which isn't a long time, you know what I mean, from the perfect season versus now like George Halas' last win was like a million years ago, but it is still kind of cool.
I like to that point, I found probably more value than anyone when the Eagles finally like overtook the Giants all-time series record because it just spoke to how much they were dominating them, and they literally never led the series since it started. Like they started 0-2 against them and they never had the lead, and now they're Eagles are going to overtake Washington probably at some point here. Dallas is obviously further away.
Just to trash Aaron Rodgers again, for like 3 weeks running, the Packers had an opportunity to surpass the Bears for like all-time winning percentage. I don't know if you've been seeing this. The Bears they were what were they? 2-0. They were 3-0. They got to 3-0. They lost to the Giants. They lost to the Vikings. They lost to the Commanders. So all 3 of those weeks, Aaron Rodgers had opportunities. For 2 of those weeks, he had an opportunity and then couldn't beat the Commanders. And now he's even further behind because this Bears went over the Patriots. So, this is my question. So he's now 2 games behind. He's got to outwin the Bears by 2 games the rest of the season. Do they do it? So you think they don't pass the Bears this season?
And why would you bet on the Packers right now?
I wouldn't, but these are
I
the
think
Packers.
They still have a ceiling that scares me, but their vibes are terrible.
So like very, very quickly, because we got to pick the other games. Packers just win or loss at Buffalo.
Why are we doing this? It doesn't matter.
I'm curious. We went down this road at Buffalo.
Lose to Buffalo, obviously.
At Detroit.
They beat them once already, or did they play yet?
They haven't played yet.
Okay, they lose to. They beat Detroit.
Okay, that's 1. They lose to Dallas.
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Wait, no, that game's in. Yeah, okay. They lose to the Titans too.
Okay. At Philly, loss. At Chicago, that's a swing point. So not counting that game.
The Bears win that game. I think they lost to the Packers already. So Packers aren't going to sweep them.
Right. Okay. Then the Rams.
They lose.
At Miami, a loss. Minnesota,
loss.
Detroit, and say they win. Right. I know we gave them the Detroit, whatever.
Sure.
So that's 2 wins. So you're banking on the Bears only winning 1 more game then, like to pass them. You know what I'm saying? Because you need 2 wins to pass them.
Yeah, I'm saying they're not going to pass them.
I know. But so that's what I'm saying.
So I have the Bears beating them too.
So you need the Bears to have at least 1 more win. Is my point. All
right. None of this. No one cares about this. Anyway.
The Bears play. I don't know, Cowboys. Man. Looking at their schedule, it's kind of hard to find another win for the Bears. Maybe at Atlanta. Maybe at the Jets. I don't know, but.
Joel Justin Fields is back, baby. Haven't you seen? Dude, I cannot tell you how much hype I saw about, because I didn't watch all of Monday Night Football. A lot of it I missed. But the way I was just seeing tweets about him versus his final stat line where he completed 13 passes, had under 200 passing yards.
He had 10 rushing attempts in the first half too. It was a very Tim Tebow-ish game.
Did not even run for 100 yards rushing. This is at an 85.2 pass rating. Fumbled 4 times. This is your hero? Twitter?
On the subject of the
fumbled 4 times.
Very quickly before we pick the Cowboys and Commanders games, I will say I'm certainly not to a place where I am ever worried about the Eagles, but from week 12 on, this little 5-week stretch for the Eagles looks a little bit more difficult. If you believe in the Bears, I don't, to be very clear here.
No, I don't.
But this little this 5-week stretch looks just a little bit thornier than it did to me a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Green Bay looks really bad. Tennessee certainly spunky. At New York, that is definitely a tough game.
Yeah.
At Chicago, again, I know nobody believes, whatever. At Dallas, even that New Orleans game, that is such a. No. I mean, I don't think any Eagles fan wants to. And I'm not saying that, hear me out. I don't think the Saints are good, but it depends what the Eagles want. What do they value? The first round pick, or you know what I'm saying? Hey, that's a real thing. So
Eagles have owned that matchup though.
That's where the number 1 seed is won for the Eagles, is that 5-week stretch right there, or maybe won or lost. That's an important 5-week stretch.
The Giants, I think they lose to the Giants. I think that's their first loss in New York.
Cowboys Bears this week.
I'll take the Cowboys, of course. I'm not betting on Justin Fields.
So we both got the Cowboys getting to 6-2 at the bye. Commanders, Colts.
Where's that game? It's in Dallas.
It is.
Okay, yeah, then definitely.
How did you miss my whole it's so unfair what the Giants or the Bears are having to go through? Blah blah blah. Okay. The Commanders, what do you think? Dallas is 9-point favorites, by the way. They were 10 when it opened. Commanders in Indianapolis, what do you think that line is?
I think it's going to be Commanders -1.
Colts -3.
Okay.
Why? That's my lock of the week, by the way. On the NFL show.
The Commanders +3.
Yeah, I mean, why? Who? Why? What? Who? I don't believe in
know.
Frank Reich at all. This is really stupid. So they win. I think the Commanders win.
You just hit your mic.
Yeah, I did on accident. Are you still there? Okay, I thought I hit the mic and the computer destroyed itself or something.
No, that's not how it works.
Okay, so the Commanders get to 500 this week. What do you both think?
I guess, but it's just, I don't know. It doesn't seem super meaningful. It's just the ceiling. What's their ceiling? And just by virtue of being in this division, if they're playing in the NFC South, sure, yeah, they could win the division still, but not the case.
Do you know how many teams they have better? How many NFC teams they have better playoff odds than?
No.
they're tied with the Bears and the Saints, to like really put this in perspective. They have
The
better
Saints, who have
playoff
the 4th
odds.
overall pick right now that they're sending to the
The
Eagles.
the only NFC teams, the like super wide open NFC, who they have better playoff odds than, are the Carolina Panthers and Dan Campbell's Detroit Lions.
Well, part of it, again, like I said before, they've already lost twice in the division, which is tough, and then they've lost, I think, 3 total NFC games, if I'm not mistaken. So they kind of have some things going against them in that regard, and also like with the Eagles, not that they're in contention with them, but like there's some common game stuff there too, because they lost to the Lions, and the Cowboys and Eagles have already beaten the Lions. Like there's a lot of tiebreakers and like stuff working against them.
Well, so we both then have the Eagles, Cowboys, and Eagles, Cowboys, and Commanders all winning.
Oh yeah, sorry. I thought you were talking about the playoff picture. Yeah,
we both think the Cowboys and Commanders cover. Obviously, Commanders because we have them winning. And we both think the Steelers cover, and we're split on the Giants because I think they win, which means they cover.
I think the Colts can win. I feel better about the Colts winning this week than the Colts winning this week than I do the Giants winning.
Wow. On that note, let's get out of here. Give me 3 random birds. 3 random birds.
Phillies.
Mockingbird, Cardinal, and parakeet.
Toucan.
No,
Ooh,
stupid.
mine was better.
No, it wasn't. Ghost Joe's.